Juliana, thanks for joining us today. How are you?
Awesome. I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing well. Excited to chat all things Jeremiah's and your career and just learn about the company. So I'll just kick it off. You started Jeremiah's in high school. There was just 3 locations. Now there's hundreds of them. What drew you there to work initially?
I started when I was 16 years old. I was a junior in high school. I did not think I would be here as long as I have been, but really it was just the cool place to hang out. And that's still what we strive to be. It was the cool place that you go to after a football game, maybe have your first date there. I had my own memories going there after piano lessons. Don't ask me to play the piano, only ask me the Jeremiah's portions. But growing up, it was just a place that we could hang out with our friends, hang out with our family. And that's what we strive to still be in our communities.
Nice. And at that point, it was independently owned, just a couple locations in Florida, right?
Yeah. So at that point with the 3 locations, they were all corporately owned. We actually continued growing that way throughout Central Florida, got into some of our outskirt markets, I'll call it. So that was really Tampa, Jacksonville, and a South Florida location when we were at our prime. But we hit 22 company-owned locations before we started franchising.
Awesome. I definitely want to dig into that. But I'm curious about your path, starting just as a team member. There's limits to how much high school age folks can do. So what was that career path like for you? I know you kind of, you pursued an MBA and went to school through that, and you're still there. So what was your career path and what were the roles that you took on throughout your tenure at Jeremiah's?
So 3 stores. I was serving in the store. I like to say I have experience from the very level of taking customers, preparing our ice, cleaning the location, and then was able to work my way up over the following years after that. So it really started when we started expanding locations. I was working with new store openings. At the time, we had basic training material, I'll call it, but nobody had really sat down and wrote down all of our training that fell along with our culture. We call our culture our frogma, so play on dogma. And I had that opportunity. So I was basically the first curator of what we call our cool school textbook while we were opening locations. Around that time, I was going through undergrad at UCF, Go Knights, for anyone listening out there. I had the really cool opportunity of just opening our Jacksonville market, our Tampa market, and then continuing to expand within Central Florida. At that time, I kind of became director of training, overseeing that department, which was new store openings and our training program. It was in 2019 when we started looking at franchising. As we were doing that, we needed to continue to put strong processes in place to continue to grow the brand. And that's what a lot of myself and my team were doing. We rolled out new processes that were going to help us grow. That was going to make us an approachable franchise brand for operators to really jump into the system. And that's kind of where my career grew. Around that time, I got into operations. Right when I got into operations was when I went back to school again. I went to Rollins to get my MBA and really just trying to subsidize what I wasn't getting at the company because I grew up in here by expanding my education and building a stronger network, bringing resources into myself, into the brand to make us stronger, and really kind of went from there. And now we are at 160 locations.
That's so exciting. So you were mostly in the training and people operations side for most of the time. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's really where I found a passion and continued to grow. And it really led into what our operations department is today. Our new store onboarding, development, training, and of course our day-to-day operations all rolls up under our ops team now with still that people first mindset.
So speaking of people first, you talked about the frogma. I'm curious if we could dive a little bit more into that. What exactly does that mean? What are those core values? And then I like to understand, a lot of restaurants and food service hospitality have their core values and, they're oftentimes, exciting words or phrases, but I also want to know what they look like in practice. So how do you take those core values and put them to work?
Certainly appreciate that. I will say our core values are probably the most fun. They really fit our brand. They're cool, bold, genuine, generous, vibrant, and strategic. They all roll back into decision making is what I like to say. So between myself and our leaders, if we have a decision to make, how can we lean on our core values and make sure that our possible solutions or that decision truly is a reflection of what the brand has stood for? And if we all can do that every single time, then we'll be true to ourselves, we'll be true to our brand. So our Frogma encompasses our vision, our mission, and our core values every single day. It's a bit silly, but we do have a Frogma board in every store. I'd like to say we did it before Ted Lasso, but it's up generally on top of where our door is into our back of house, well, leading from our back of house to our front of house and our locations. And we often tell all of our team members to sign it on the first day of business, sign the back, so it's something that we can hang on to forever. We always know the opening squad, and we call it our Frog Squad as our team members. So just another piece of that Frogma.
Very cool. And how do you take that Frogma and then put it into, like training materials? What does that look like for you in terms of living those values and really putting them into practice? Like, do you reinforce them through training? Do you reinforce them through talking to staff or, like you mentioned, putting it on the wall? But just really curious how you make sure that they actually get lived, because it is one thing to say them, but it's hard to make sure that they are actually put into practice every day.
Absolutely. Quite a few ways. I could talk about it forever, but I'll try and hit the big highlights. One of the ways is, of course, through our training program. So our training program is called Cool School. Everything's set up in a textbook, and we have a learning management system that's called LEAP. It stands for Leadership, Education, Accountability, and People. Our LEAP platform is where all of our training is held, just like most brands, training modules, training videos, all of the different job aids that we can provide our team. But what's unique, or I guess cool about Jeremiah, is we make sure that all of that ties into these silly frog puns that I've been using. We don't just have deployment charts per se, but we have our launch pad. Our launch pad has our sweet saying to start our day. It has our freeze frame, which is where our team members are stationed for the day. It has our sweet start steps. That's how we start every shift to make sure that our product quality, our guest experience are hitting top notch every single day. So we've really incorporated all of this fun frog lingo into our day, which sounds silly, but if you talk the talk, you're more likely to walk the walk. So that's kind of where we started and how we've continued to build. Within our training modules and material, of course, we're providing our franchise owners that information so that they can get acquainted with the brand, Jeremiah's, and be able to lead. But what's really important is we're giving them train the trainer material so that they can bring it back to their squads and create a consistent guest experience. So part of our franchise training is going to be that train the trainer that really focuses on young team members. We're a QSR, a quick service restaurant. We hire a lot of young team members, a lot of minors, and a lot of first-time jobs. So not only are you teaching team members how to build our famous gelati, but you're also teaching team members how to maybe clean, mop the floors, the difference between a hand sink, a mop sink, a 3-compartment sink. You're starting from the bare basics. And what we're doing is we're equipping our franchise owners to do that in a really cool, fun, and positive way. Our training videos are made in a TikTok fashion. I'll give a shout out to our senior training manager, Dakota. She builds all of our training materials in basically TikTok videos. So there's snippets, same instructional voice that you hear on TikTok or the current trend that's trending, all built in a way that's really easy for our team members to engage with, meaning it's fun, it's silly, maybe sparks a laugh here or there. That's how we keep our team members engaged so that they want to look at that new training module. They're interested in learning more. And it's something that's super simple and familiar rather than maybe just a boring printout textbook that maybe they read, maybe they don't. Who knows if they'll be able to find it later. So we really try and keep that at the forefront of all of our training is who are we training and why? And that's our young team members. So keeping those core values alive and bringing that to light is really a way that we make sure that that culture is implemented every single day and how we're talking about it.
That's awesome. Yeah. And I love the frog puns, and I'm assuming frog comes from the logo being a frog. Is the frog's name Jeremiah?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Excellent. Jeremiah was a bullfrog. Okay, now it's all starting to make sense. Very cool. So yeah, the new employees, that's actually a great tie into the episode that we just released with Jason at Arrow Up Training, and they make training videos in a very similar kind of fun style that they know that resonates with just people today, not young people in particular, but just people's current attention spans. So it's very cool. I'd love to see some of those videos. That would be exciting. And I guess that really goes into how, you've scaled so rapidly, and that probably contributes the way you do things to being able to maintain that culture, not only across new stores, but like with new franchisees.
Absolutely. And Honestly, those are some of my favorite franchise stories. Is somebody who grew up with the brand. We even have franchise owners now that were servers in our stores 10, 15, 20 years ago that felt so passionately about Jeremiah's, the product, the culture, the experience that we were giving our guests. And one, they were like, how can I get a cookies and cream gelati at home and not have to travel all the way to Florida for it if they're out of state? But then two, they said, how can I bring a slice of that to my community and my home? And how can I share this with my new neighbors, new family members, and all of that great experience? So that's been one of my favorite parts about franchising, is seeing people bring the brand, their heart together in their homes.
That's awesome. So 22 corporate stores before the franchising began in 2019. So what was behind that move in terms of choosing franchising as a way of expansion rather than keeping it corporate? Was it just that passionate customer base?
Yeah, a little bit of both. I do want to, say the brand, our founder, so passionate about making sure that we're giving out great products and consistent experiences that 22 was, sometimes that could be seen as a high number, moving from company to franchise locations, but truly it was vetted. Our brand has seen multiple different trends throughout the economy. We've been able to live through the hard times. We've been able to find successes during the great times. And it's just really a testament to the brand and its foundations. But then, absolutely, we had, oh my gosh, over thousands of inquiries over that time asking if we were franchising so that people could bring the brand. They were moving from Florida to Arizona and Texas, and people were asking about the brand. And it wasn't the founder's initial thought, but it certainly became what is a way that we can scale and bring this passion? And the franchising model allows you to have that community ties. If we were to open a store in Texas, we wouldn't already have the community ties that a franchise owner that's lived there for 10, 15 years. Their children went to those schools. Maybe they're involved with their local organizations or churches. So they were able to really use those ties, their love for the brand, and be able to prosper in the growing market. So franchising really just made sense at that point.
Very cool. So yeah, it's that local roots, and that was kind of where I was like, creating that cult following and in new markets. And it really just comes from passionate folks that love Jeremiah's, that happen to live in, like me, here up in North Georgia with a couple locations, or Texas. So, I know you kind of do like a discovery day for evaluating new franchisees. What do you look for other than passion in evaluating someone to become a Jeremiah's franchisee?
I would say a lot of thoughtfulness into their decision to becoming a franchisee in general. Maybe if they don't have previous franchise experience, thoughtfulness into maybe their previous experience and how that could tie into Jeremiah's and the experience that they can bring to the company. Because we are still a young franchise brand. So there is still, a lot of growing to do as we continue to expand into different markets, into different product lines, etc. But then really looking for someone who is going to be really intentional in how they're operating a store. Any franchisee will tell you your biggest positive, but also your hardship can be your neighboring franchisee. And if they're upholding the brand standards, if they're upholding the brand consistency. So we're looking for people who are bought into that. Training someone to make a gelati, we do every day. That's the easy part. So it's really about someone that can bring that culture as well with a little bit of food experience to the table. So yeah, Discovery Day is certainly a time where we can do that. We take them through making products. We take them through an actual live store, as well as our Leap Academy. That's our training facility. Again, more frog puns. We get to really see, as well as they get to see, and they get kind of a peek behind into the back of house to understand what goes into that day-to-day operation.
Very cool. And I'm curious, just, maybe outside of Jeremiah's in general, potential franchisees, do you find folks that are unsure if they want to open a franchise or just start their own business from scratch? Or are most people that come to you, very much, I want to open a Jeremiah's?
A little bit of both, because I think a franchise owner has to have a bit of that entrepreneurial spirit, but not so much that they want to kind of deviate from what the brand is, because we all know some amazing franchise brands out there. And what makes them amazing is, you're going to get the same product at every location you go to. So we get a bit of both, but I think what's really special is our product. So a lot of our franchise owners are just, how can I get my hands on this amazing product and bring it to the world, bring it to more customers than we're already reaching. So I think a lot of that comes to, hey, it's about the Jeremiah's brand, but it's really about getting in on the amazing Jeremiah's product.
Very cool. So also in that franchise vein, going outside, all the original locations were in Florida. Is that correct?
Yep. All of our company-owned stores were in Florida.
What were some of the biggest changes that you noticed in going outside of Florida, becoming a multi-state brand and regional brand, maybe instead of just a Florida brand? So what was that like for you?
Well, I'll say on the very tactical front, when we first started expanding, we actually made all of our Italian ice in what we'll call a commissary. So it was all being made in one place. And then we basically had an ice truck, a freezer truck, that was driving our product to all of our locations. So when we first started to think about expansion, it was basically, well, on this hub and spoke model, how many facilities do we need to actually support this amount of locations? Plus, what is the bandwidth? What's the range that we would be able to support from one facility, given that we have a frozen product? And when we went down that path, it seemed there's got to be an easier way. So that's when we brought all of our fulfillment in-house. So what's really unique about Jeremiah's is we don't really have a front of house or back of house position. All of our team members, from server, lead, supervisor, assistant, and store managers, all learn every facet of the business. So it really makes us flexible in our scheduling needs. It really makes us flexible in how we can operate our location on the day-to-day. But now all of that ice making actually happens back of house in our stores. So it truly is made fresh daily, truly just a really nice fresh product that we're able to give. We actually found a huge restaurant win that it saved on our COGS. It brought our costs down. So it was a really great win on the financial side as well. But that was kind of a one barrier that we had to get over to even start expanding into different states. So maybe that isn't exactly what you asked, but I think a worthy shout out of what we switched to really aid in that expansion. And then now it's honestly, so much of it is on location type. We are a fairly what I'll call simple product. We are Italian ice, soft ice cream. We combine the two to make our third product, the gelati. We do have new product lines that are coming up. I won't give anything too big away, but what's really exciting about our simplicity is that we can fit almost anywhere. We take on a lot of second generation spaces when we're talking about new construction. We can even carve out a piece of something that was existing where maybe a seating area or all of the square footage wasn't being used previously, especially with different times after COVID. So we are pretty malleable in that sense, where we've been able to enter different markets and be flexible to get our foot in the door when we're opening there for the first time. But what we have done is we've needed to find different ways to break into that market. A great example is Arizona. Summer is our busy time. Summer is huge for us. We love summer. That's when everybody's looking for ice cream. And Arizona is a unique one. It gets so hot that people don't leave their houses in summer. So how can we bring convenience to them, whether that be with drive-thrus or misters or indoor queue areas? There was different things to take into consideration based on the regional markets.
That's so funny thinking, coming from Florida where it already is extremely hot, that you have to do more. That's wild. And I imagine going from commissary to making everything in-house was a big challenge on the training front for you.
It was definitely a little bit different. I will say, if you can bake a cake, you can make ice. It's all fairly simple. We're doing weights, we're doing some basic measurements and putting them together. And thankfully, we have a very strong training team out there where we can provide training and, like I said, quick modules, job aids, but also in person when needed. We're able to really execute on that higher level. So a lot of that did come from just our internal training team kind of hitting the road and getting all of our stores transitioned. We were already transitioned prior to our franchising starting, so it was a pretty easy, smooth, segue into franchising.
Okay, that makes sense. So markets where it's not always hot, how do you approach seasonality there? I mean, I can eat Italian ice cream year round, but I am curious, what's your approach to that? Do you only tend to go into markets where it's hot, Florida, Georgia, Texas, Arizona, or are you open to other parts of the country as well?
Yeah, so right now our expansion has been happening mainly in the southeast corridor, but kind of from Florida stretching all the way to Arizona. So following along that path of like our southern border is where most of our stores are. Now we do go up as far north, I'll call it, because I'm sure Northerners would laugh, as North Carolina. So those are our furthest north stores, North Carolina and Tennessee. And those locations, we have had to offer different things, maybe indoor seating, drive-throughs, but we also do have two exciting new product lines launching this year in 2025. We have a Hop Away Treats, which is our gelati cake, really meant to be an ice cream cake of sorts, but Jeremiah's twist for celebrations. And celebrations happen all year round. Birthdays don't stop in November and December. So what we're really hoping is to expand our reach and give our customers who absolutely have Jeremiah's to celebrate a way to celebrate with Jeremiah's at home or to go. And then we also do have a line of hot chocolate gelati launching. It is just a twist on hot chocolate, Jeremiah's version. It uses some of our coveted flavors. So if you're a Jeremiah's fan, Scoop Froggy Frog is our mint chocolate chip. So it takes some of our traditional flavors and our flavor mixes and adds them to hot chocolate. So this is a way that we're helping our colder stores combat seasonality by really just giving a few different options for our guests during those winter months. But I do agree with your sentiment that people can eat desserts year round. It's never too cold for ice cream. And honestly, sometimes those northern states, the people are more acclimated to colder weather anyway. In Florida, when it hits 50 degrees, everyone's shivering in their boots, right? But that's just another day once you get up north.
So it's really just about diversifying the offering and adapting. Like you said, it's just really adapting to and paying attention to the differences in regions. And you would think dealing with heat in Florida would be enough, but there's a different level of heat out west. So all of those things feel like they're very true to Jeremiah's in the way that they're evolving as well. So I think that's very cool. I'm curious, I want to just dive into your experience a little bit more. How has your approach to leadership and that evolved over the years throughout all of this? Like, what are some of the bigger leadership lessons you've learned throughout your tenure at Jeremiah's?
Certainly on a personal level, and what I think would maybe relate a lot to listeners would be the biggest transition is certainly going from being your peer, and then all of a sudden you're having to manage your peers as you continue to grow through your career. And that was definitely a different experience. Growing up in the store, then working kind of as supervisor in the store, a general manager in a store, and working alongside people that had now become friends, and now they're looking up to you to lead them and make decisions and to make sure if something goes wrong that you're there to help them. Honestly, I think it was a great opportunity to be able to do that a lot of times amongst previous peers, because it taught me how to be a really fair leader, how to bring a really positive way of leadership to our locations and keep our culture alive, and also being super aware of exactly what they were going through, because I was a team member. I completely understand the hardships of our day-to-day. I think any good leader would tell you, get out in the field, work alongside your team members, be able to enter an order into the POS, be able to make a schedule. It's only going to make your team have a mutual respect for everyone that's working together. And then now, really being able to lead our franchise system. I can't say enough about getting out in the field, hearing from our franchise owners, understanding the hardships that they're going through, whether it be operational, financial, marketing, being on their level and being able to provide very strong support, whether that just be answering your phone quickly or being able to pull up additional resources and making sure that we're on their side. So a little bit of a different strategy in leadership, but I think it all kind of comes back to making sure that we're really aware of our day-to-day operations and how that's affecting our owners.
Absolutely. What's a recent challenge that you've helped solve that you can share?
I would say one that we are looking to bring to our franchise owners, and this is pretty big scale, but it's really important for our brand. Like we were talking about, taking on development in different territories, second generation spaces, how we can stay really malleable. Currently, we are a brand that offers 24 flavors a day, every day. That's basically just based off our equipment. How many Italian ice flavors can we hold in our stores? Something that we have really dove into, and we've actually actually rolled out some locations this way and are looking to, as a test, convert some of our current locations to a different model. We're calling it the 14 flavor offering model. Not a crazy creative name, you already understand. Basically, we're limiting our menu to 14 flavors a day, but we are increasing the flavors that are rotating. So we'll still have just as many, if not more, limited time offerings, seasonal flavors like a pumpkin, a peppermint. All of those items would still be featured in a smaller level. But what's really important is that's going to help our franchise owners hit labor targets and exceed them. We're thinking this could really bring down the additional labor because you're going down from managing 24 to 14 flavors. Going to, fingers crossed, really make our COGS better because all of a sudden we're buying more of specific items. We can bring down that cost. Also, it's going to help with deliveries because you're having to order in less SKUs to your location, which means you're really focusing on just the products that are needed at that point. But importantly, it's going to help with development because it's a slightly smaller equipment package than what we've seen and makes us even more malleable to go into non-traditional spaces. So for our franchise owners that are entering the system now, or maybe looking at store 2, store 3, being able to utilize this model could really reap some really amazing benefits. I wish that I had all of the numbers already, but like I said, we launched a few new stores and we're just looking to convert some of our existing stores so that we can really hone in on that data and what type of benefits it's bringing to our franchisees. But we did announce this at our franchise, we call it our Frog Squad Summit, but it's basically our annual franchise conference with all of our franchise owners just last week. And the excitement around this idea, how it's going to affect operations, this type of support operations is going to be able to give for this transition was through the roof. We're very, very excited.
That's awesome. And that's kind of a trend I've been noticing with operators, just dealing with rising costs and rising labor costs is streamlining, but in an intelligent, thoughtful way and making sure that, the offerings are maybe offering less, but like you said, instead of just saying, all right, well, we have less flavors now, using that as an opportunity to introduce more variety, I think is really cool.
I think you hit the nail on the head with the word variety. That's what we're looking to do. We honestly feel we can expand our variety and not lose what has been true to our guests with bringing in all of those different flavors year round.
That's awesome. A couple more little questions, just some fun ones. I'm curious what's kept you at Jeremiah's so long? What is it about the brand that made you want to spend most of your career there?
I'll give the cheesy answer, but it's true. Absolutely the people. If you think my tenure is long, we have team members that have been here for almost 28 years. The brand's only 29 years old. We have team members that still beat me at 2015. And I've got our other longest tenure is at 12, which is right where I am. So we're in constant celebration together as we hit our tenure marks. But truly, it's been the people and the experience that I've had to be able to work alongside these people, moving from our company system to our franchise system and all of the different hurdles along the way, but also really awesome successes and different learnings that we've been able to do. Wouldn't want to do that with a different team. They really, truly are some amazing people and people that really encourage you to continue to grow and do more. And that would probably be my second piece is as the brand has continued to grow, it's really given me the opportunity to grow with the brand, to learn more. When we moved, especially from company-owned system to our franchise system, all of the different processes we had to put in place was an opportunity to really broaden my horizon on a different kind of business structure. That's been an awesome opportunity as we continue to grow, enter new states. There's always more to be done.
Yeah, absolutely. And then what advice would you give, young folks starting their careers in hospitality and food service? There's a lot of folks that view it as just kind of a transitory thing. They work there in high school or they work there through school. But there are a lot of interesting careers like yours that can be built and created through food service. So what advice would you give to, a young person who's starting out in food? Or what advice would you give to yourself at the time when you started?
Oh man, a little bit of everything, because certainly when our new team members join us, I don't ever make the assumption that they're going to be here for 12 years and continue growing the ladder just at Jeremiah's, but what we can give them during their time at Jeremiah's is so valuable. Whether they are going to pursue nursing after this, well, they have to know how to make a schedule too. They have to understand labor too. How can we teach kind of the basics and the fundamentals of what it takes to run an operation, regardless if it's food service or if it's within a different industry? That's something that someone can take with them forever. And I hope that when people put Jeremiah's on their resume, that somebody that's reviewing that can read that and say, man, this person knows labor. This person knows COGS. This person understands what it means to work in a team and to have really, really great work ethic and to get along with others. That's kind of our end goal here, is all of the skills and resources that we can put our team members while they're with us is super important. And then for those who do say, hey, I really have a passion for this. I love working with my hands. I love being in operation. I love kind of seeing the cogs of the wheels and how they all spin within the restaurant industry. I know that that's what hit me. That's how I got a passion for it. And I just really encourage them to speak about that, to put themselves out there and to continue growing with the brand. And that's where we've been able to be so fortunate with how many people have really stayed with our brand. I think 50% of my team members are all internal promotions, all people who have grown with the brand over the years. I think our tenure together as a team is probably over 100 years old. It really is amazing to see our people continue to grow. And what brings those opportunities is truly our brand continuing to grow. As we open more stores, enter more states, the opportunities continue to come, which means our people can keep growing, and then we can hold on to those superstars.
That's awesome. Do you know how many stores will be opening this year?
We're hoping for about 25. So I think we should be over 180 locations by the end of the year.
So exciting. Last two questions. I'm boring when it comes to flavors. I'm classic, mango, cherry, lemon kind of guy. What is your favorite thing at Jeremiah's on the menu as of right now? I imagine it's evolved, but what's your go-to?
My go-to on any given day is our most popular flavor. It's our cookies and cream gelati. And I love it with the cookie Oreo cookie crumbles, which makes our Oreo mud pie favorite. But overall, this is a rotating flavor, so it's not always featured. But our horchata is cinnamon, almond, and vanilla. And with chocolate ice cream, I just think it is an amazing, decadent treat. And I could eat it every day.
That sounds great. And when was the last time how often do you make gelati or ice cream in the stores?
I try and get there as much as possible. I will say I get to spend a lot of time at our Leap Academy, because when our franchise owners are training with us, I absolutely want to be there. And I always make a gelati. Say it's like riding a bike. Once you know how to use an ice cream machine, you always will. But I like to keep my skills top notch.
Great. Well, thank you so much for hopping on today and chatting with us. I think there's a lot of great lessons and things to learn about careers and franchising, but I just appreciate your time. So thank you so much.
Wow, I really appreciate that. And I'll leave with our motto to live life to the coolest.
Awesome. Thank you. Thanks again for checking out this episode of the Pre-Shift Podcast. If you enjoyed it, please leave a review and share it with one of your friends to help our show grow. We could not do it without your support. As always, I would love to hear what you think about the show, or let me know if you want to be on it, or if you know someone that you would love to hear on it. You can email me directly, dj@7shifts.com. It's also in the show notes. And I look forward to hearing from all of you. Talk to you next time.